Hi everyone, my name is Tony Crouch and this is VHS is Life. Now before we get into the video, I do want to just let you know about my website, vhsislife.com. It has a lot of fun VHS related information, articles, community resources, as well as information about this machine you see here in front of you, which is what we're going to be talking about in our video today. This is the VHS is Life mode cleaning machine for VHS tapes. Now, if you're here, I'm assuming you already know what this is about, but maybe you're not. Maybe you looked up on the video or just came across it by chance and is wondering what do we need a cleaner for VHS tapes and why is there mode on VHS tapes. So VHS tapes have been around for quite a while now, and over the last several decades they've been stored in basements, they've been stored in attics, storage units, and exposed to a lot of heat, moisture, just adverse conditions and conditions that lend itself to growing mold. And that's what we're talking about today. As you can see on this tape right here, this tape is covered in mold. And the reason that's bad is if you take that tape and you stick it in a VCR, which is the machine that plays VHS tapes, it will clog and it will clog the heads, the little internal electronic mechanisms that read the data, and it'll make the VCR basically useless. The quality of the tape will be bad, and not only does it contaminate the VCR, then any future tapes you put in there, that mold could get on a clean tape. And the reason why we want to clean tapes, or why it's important to consider cleaning tapes, is that some of these tapes that are harder to find are worth good money, and you want to keep them around financially. You don't want to just throw money in the trash, or they may have sentimental value, such as a wedding, a child's birth, something like that. So you definitely there are definitely reasons why you would want to clean a VHS tape, and this machine that I've developed here will help you do that a little easier, hopefully quicker, and definitely more cleanly than using like a VCR or some other type of device. Now there's other cleaners on the market. I'm not saying this is better than them, that you should get this cleaner or shouldn't. I'm just sharing with you something I developed for myself that I use a lot, not daily, but I use a lot, and felt like the community could take it and use it for themselves as well. So that's why I'm sharing this with you today. All right, let's get into talking a little bit about the machine itself, and then we'll go over some setup, and we'll actually clean a tape. So there are going to be time marks on this tape, so if you want to skip to any section, you're welcome to do so. If you follow along with me, I appreciate that as well. All right, so let's talk about the machine. The machine itself is fairly simple. You have a on-off switch, which also controls the speed that these spindles turn. You have a directional switch, left and right, to determine which spindle is activated and which direction the tape will spool. You've got your cleaning pads with the holder for the pad. That is a quick change holder, allows you to put the pad on quickly, take it off, turn it over, keep a clean side on between spools, and then you have your vacuum stacks, which connect to the cavity underneath, which connect to the back, which has a connection made so that this little desktop vacuum cleaner can just hook right into that. Now, this vacuum cleaner is commercially available. I do offer them as well on my website along with the cleaner. But if you want to purchase one yourself, or if you want to use your own vacuum, the only thing I caution you is that I've tested multiple vacuums, and this is the one I went with because the amount of suction on this vacuum is just right to collect the mold spores as they're coming off the cloth, but not so much that it'll suck the tape. If for some reason the vacuum's running and the tape stops, it won't suck the tape down into the hose. If you hook a shop vac or something up to that, it's going to be way too much suction. So just make sure if you're using your own vacuum, you test that out. You don't even have to use a vacuum. It's just a way to keep your workspace cleaner, and I feel like it's just a healthier way to clean tapes. One of the things that when I developed this, the way I designed it the way I did, was so that I could create these vacuum stacks, create a good suction system, and have a vacuum so that I could keep the mold spores and all the foreign particles from just flying around everywhere. So, there's other ways to, you can create your own cleaner. There's other ways to do this. This is the method I came up with that works best for me, and I think will work well for anyone that's wanting to use this machine. All right, so let's talk a little bit about setup. All right, the setup for this machine is fairly straightforward. You have your spindles, which do have screws to, you don't need to tighten them because they're not going to come flying off, but you can tighten them, and you can also change these spindles. I've created spindles for Betamax, High 8, and Mini DV. So you can use these to clean a multitude of tape media. But if you want to change these out, you can. And then you have your cleaning columns with your pads. The pads I like to use are these PEC pads. They are lint-free, abrasive-free, ultra soft. You can find them on Amazon. You can order them yourself. I don't sell them in my store because they're just too easily available anywhere else. But they are non-abrasive. They are designed to be used on photography, film, media such as this, so that it doesn't scratch it. Now, this company also puts out an emulsion cleaner that you can use for cleaning if you want to. I personally like to use isopropyl, 99% isopropyl alcohol. I can put it in a spray bottle. I can keep it handy, and it's cost effective. It does a great job of cleaning and sanitizing, and it's quick drying. So that's also important when you're doing this. Now, when I go to put a pad on, I've already got one pad on just for the simplicity of it, sake of the film, the recording. But when I go to put a pad on, I'll give it a little bit of a stretch, just a little bit of a stretch. Gives me a little extra room as I'm putting this on, and then I just give it a double fold, and that way when I put this on, it's going to have one surface area. So you can use this pad on this surface, the two inside, and then you can flip it and do it again on this way. So you can get multiple uses out of this single pad, and these things are pretty cheap, so you're going to be able to clean a lot of tapes with one package of pads. But it's pretty easy to go on. It'd be a lot easier if I wasn't trying to operate around a camera. You just slide it around the column, slide it down, and boom, it's on. One thing you want to make sure that you check, and you'll get used to it, but is you want to make sure the pad's all the way at the bottom of the base of the cleaning column, and that it's relatively flat and there's no big huge bumps or anything bunching up in there, because as your tape passes over it, you want to get the whole tape. Now, I will say the majority of mold, when you clean mold, will gather on top of the tape. You don't often get much on the surface of it, but what we're doing is we're just wiping the whole tape, and we're getting this that's on the surface off of it. So now the machine is set up and ready to go. And what I typically like to do is make sure that I have, if I have a tape I'm going to clean, I make sure that it's rewound or fast forwarded, either way, so that I've got an empty spool. And then I want to clean that spool, the underneath of that spool, with that isopropyl alcohol, and I use a microfiber cloth, just so that I can make sure all the mold is off of that before I turn around and spool it full of tape, so that I don't recontaminate the tape from mold that's on the spool. Once the tape has ran all the way through and I've spooled it onto the empty spool, I'll do the same for the other spool. What's important about the mold is cleaning all the parts of the VHS. So when you have a VHS like this, you want to take it apart. However you choose to clean it, make sure that you're cleaning the tape, the reel, the inside of the shell. That mold gets everywhere. And if you don't destroy it all and you just clean it and don't do a good job, put it back on your shelf, a year later it may be covered in mold again. So it's important that when you clean these tapes, you clean all the components, not just the tape itself. Okay guys, let's clean a tape. So when you get ready to put your PEC pads on, I like to take one out of the package and just give it a little pull, give it a little stretch. It goes on a little easier that way. I'll fold it up, double like that. And then normally I won't have a camera in my face, I'll just slide it around the column, slide it on one side, slide it on the other side, and it's on. It's even faster without trying to reach around the camera and doing it. So you want to make sure it's flat. You want to make sure it's all the way at the bottom of your cleaning column and ready to go. So when you're cleaning these tapes, especially the first few passes, I highly recommend and almost insist that you clean one side at a time. These spools are set up so that you can wind it through both and clean both sides, but when you're first cleaning a tape, especially in the condition that this one is in, you don't know what kind of condition it's in. You don't know how degraded it is. So the least amount of stress you can put on these, the better. And so I have started on, anytime I clean a tape, I just clean one side at a time, because if they're going to snap, they're going to snap. You can't stop that. If they're shredding, you can't fix that. But the least amount of pressure you can put on them, at least through the first few passes until you can see what quality or sort of what condition the tape is in, the better. So once you get your pads on, make sure your vacuum attachment's hooked up solid. Make sure your switch is pointing to the right direction that you want it to spin. Then you just want to take your isopropyl alcohol or whatever cleaner you're using and go ahead and wet one of your pads. Okay, so I'm going to do the outside, the far side pad first. Now this is just an old tape. It doesn't have any real value to it, but if it did, you could even consider wearing some white gloves. And then once you got them on, make sure they're on the spindles real well. Just make sure your tape's sort of lined up, not conk-eyed so that it's going to spool incorrectly. Turn your vacuum on, and then start your spooling. And I advise just spooling slow. Make sure you're getting a good even spool on there. And then as you feel comfortable with it, you can start to increase the speed a little bit. And the nice thing about this box, as opposed to VCR, it's hands-free. Once you get it rolling and you feel comfortable with the speed it's at, you just sit and let it run. Now, don't leave it unattended. You definitely don't want to walk off and go do something else and forget it's running, because what's going to happen is this spool is going to run out. If your tape is weak, it's going to break your tape. If your tape is not weak, it's just going to stop, and then your motor is going to have power applied to it while it's not turning, which will eventually burn it out. So don't start one of these, go off and do something else and forget what you're doing. Just give it your attention, because our whole goal here is to save these tapes, right? Again, we're going to do one side, then once it's spooled, we're going to clean this reel. We're going to switch it over, we're going to do the other side, and then we'll probably do a third pass. And at that point, you may even want to do them both at once. Or if you like this method, just do one at a time. The truth is, you're way less, you're way quicker and way less hands-on than using an OVCR or a cleaner, rewinder, when you use this cleaner. So you can take your time and don't put extra stress on the tape, and just do one side at a time. Both sides are going to clean. It's going to do a good job. Let's go ahead and zoom in and take a look at this vacuum stack, see what it's doing. Well, let me get over this way. Alright, so let me zoom in here. So we can see that mold is piling up on the cloth there, and you can see those particles flying in that vacuum stack. If they come off, now it's not going to catch 100% of it. It's going to catch the majority of it, but it's not going to catch 100%. But you can look, if you didn't have any kind of vacuum system going, and I'll run one here without it at some point and show you a video of that, but it creates a huge mess, because all that mold that's on that tape without the vacuum would just be going over your desktop. It would be going out into the air. It would be everywhere. Sorry if I'm making you sick by moving that around. So there's the vacuum system functioning. It is pulling the majority of that mold in. Some of that's just going to fall off from the centrifugal force of the wheel forcing it to fly off. But that vacuum system is pulling in everything that comes off of that pad. So if you can imagine all that mold without the vacuum system, it would be everywhere, all over the top of your vacuum, all over your desktop, flying up into the air, and yeah, who knows where. Not only is this cleaner, I feel like it's just a healthier solution. So we're going to let this side run out, and I'll show you what this tape looks like, and then I'll clean this reel, and then we'll run it back through, and then we'll show you what a couple of passes looks like on a cleaned tape. Again, once you're doing this and you've got it out and you're already taking your time, clean your shell, clean the inside of the reels. You know, if it's an important tape, do 3 or 4 passes. I mean, you know, we're talking minutes here, not hours. So, and the nice thing about this vacuum attachment, going back to it, is there's no screws or clamps or anything that holds it in. Literally, the suction keeps it connected to the back, but when you turn it off and you're not running the machine, you can just pull that hose out and you can just suck up a little bit extra that gets on the top of your cleaner at that point. So, yeah, we're going to let this finish on out. As you can see, it's doing a pretty good job. If you can see that far side, I don't know if the glare allows you to see it, but I'll show you what the far side looks like, and then we'll clean this side over here, and then we'll run it back. So just hang tight with me, or if you want to, you know, jump on up to the finished product, there's going to be timestamps on here. You can just fast forward. All right, so we're almost done here. We're going to control our speed and make sure that you know, this thing isn't just flying when it gets down towards the end of it. The good thing about these motors, these geared motors, is that also as the load increases on one side or the other, it will actually start to slow down on its own. It's designed that way. It's still going to turn, but that keeps it from just flying full force. And it's actually just a nice feature of these motors, because as it gets full and it starts to slow down on its own, it makes it a little easier for you to know when you need to start slowing it down as well, so that you can stop it when it gets to the clear leader tape. So we've almost got this one side done, and if you remember, this tape was pretty bad. You go back and look, it was pretty bad with mode. We're just going to monitor this speed here until it's finished on this one side. And again, it's important that you make sure that that tape is level across there and not, you know, high or low on the cleaning pad, or else it will spool unevenly and could even wrinkle your tape. So just take a minute, make sure it's lined up, and then you'll be good to go. And there we go. So now we've got one side done, and if you can tell, that's already way better than it was. As a matter of fact, if you look, you can see that reel is just caked. You can see that mold caked on the bottom of that reel right there. So that's why it's important, folks, to take your reels out, clean the bottom of your reels, not just the tape. So I'm going to pause it here a second. I'm going to clean this reel. We're going to well, let me just show you while I got the vacuum running. So you see, here's what's left out of all that mode. That's all that happened. That's all you got on your desktop right there. All the rest of that mode went in this machine. But the nice thing about it, you just pull this out, and you got a nice clean setup again. So it's really convenient and handy to be able to connect it like that and to utilize it to clean your work area once you're done doing a pass. So I'm going to clean this other reel, and then so I don't put clean tape back onto a dirty reel, and then we'll run it back on the other side on the other cleaning pad, and we'll see what it looks like. So be right back. All right, I've got my reel on this side cleaned, and I've getting ready to put this on. I'm going to wet my my pad here with my alcohol. And again, if alcohol gets on the top of your machine, it's no big deal. It dries, it doesn't hurt it. And then we're just going to, sorry for moving the camera. It's a funky setup. I'm not a content creator. So, all right, here we go. We're going to make sure our switch is over to the left. We're going to turn on our vacuum, and we're going to get to spooling. And just like on the other side, you want to make sure your tape is good and even. Make sure it's coming across fairly flat. And again, at this point, it's hands-free. This vacuum stack is doing the same thing as this vacuum stack, which the majority of the mode is gone at this point, right? So the majority of it came off on that first pass. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to let it run. Again, if you want to jump to the finished product, I have that marked in the timestamp. But if you just want to sit here and watch it run, we're going to do that. And not that I would advise this, but you can speed this thing up pretty good. Okay, so you know, you take risk on when you do that. If the tape does anything funky, you're not going to be able to stop it in time. But that's up to you. You know, once you get comfortable with it, you can figure out what speed you like to run it at. I just want to, you know, encourage you to again reevaluate why you're doing this, what your goal is. The goal is to get it clean. The goal is to get the mold particles off. And I want this machine to be effective more than quick. And so I've had good feedback from the people that have been testing it. And this is why, you know, we have come up and figured out, developed the way that we feel, and I feel is the best way to clean these tapes is to do 2 passes, 1 on each cleaning spool itself. So I encourage you to just take your time and you know, find out what process works best for you. Try to do one side at a time until you're comfortable with it, and adjust the speed, play around with it. You'll get the hang of it. You'll figure out how to put your pads on quickly. You'll figure out how to you know, utilize your vacuum at the right time. It'll become second nature to you. So at some point, it just becomes an easy to use cleaning machine. It is hands off. So the nice thing about it is you can just let it sit there and run. As long as you're paying attention, don't turn your attention away from it. You know, you can work on some other stuff while it's running. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Guys, if you do, I'll tell you this again at the end of the video, but if you do want to purchase one of these and you're interested in it, you can head on over to VHS's Life. Not only do I have the cleaners on there, but I have you know, other VHS related content. So go check it out. We got more new products coming out this year that I really can't share at this point, but go check them out. And yeah, there's, you know, hopefully this is going to be a good tool for the community to use and keep us from throwing these tapes in the trash.